We've got to get out of here. All of us. All of us. We've got to seal this place up so no one can ever get in here again. And nothing inside can ever get out.
On this episode of Old Joe's Reminiscence, when Devon, Rachel, and Garth show up at a zoological dome, they find the place buzzing with activity. This episode of The Starlost originally aired on December 29th, 1973. Based entirely on the title, I would think everyone in this episode would be wearing one of those old-school hairstyles that were very popular in the 1960s. If you haven't seen this episode, I suggest you do so now before you get stung by spoilers. The episode opens with a buzzing sound. Two people in beekeepers' outfits are helping what appears to be an injured person. One of them shoos a bothersome bee. They take the injured man inside and place him on a green cushioned table. He's been stung about 100 times. A woman enters the room, followed by Devon, Rachel, and Garth. I hardly recognize them because they're wearing uniforms we haven't seen since the Magnus episode. And those were just illusions because the three were back in their normal clothing once the computer was disabled. There's also something odd about their hair. Maybe it's just the way Garth's wig sets on his collar. I don't know. Rachel's hair is usually smooth and flowing, but here it's almost frizzy. Special guest star William Hutt plays Dr. Peter Marshall. Born in Toronto, the Shakespearean actor was far better known for his many years of stage performances than for his screen appearances. His assistant Keeble is played by John Friesen, and he lists far more screen roles, mostly minor supporting roles, but other than his being born in Toronto, no other bio information is available. Marshall goes on a rant about something upsetting his bees.
Something upset them, and if you want to know what I think, it's these damn vibration echoes. Sending the bees' signals back. Maddens them, that's what did it. You can't upset them. Don't you understand that yet? Anything will do with equipment, strangers.
He mentions strangers, and then he looks at our three.
What are you three doing here anyway?
Your wife let us in.
Well, she shouldn't have, so you can leave right now.
They're answering a security alert. Are they security personnel now? Sensors have picked up an impending threat.
Impending threat? This is a zoological station. We specialize in honeybees. If there's any threat in honeybees, this ark is in worse shape than we think it is.
You can't blame them. They came here in answer to an alarm.
Well, they've seen that everything's all right, so they can leave now and let us get on with our work.
Marshall storms off, and his wife carries on the exposition.
Don't let my husband throw you. He takes his duties very seriously. You see, he became director here 27 years ago when the entire place was run down. There were no personnel. Everything was a shambles. Now we're the best-run zoological lab in the Ark.
She is Dr. Heather Marshall, played by our other special guest star, Antoinette Bauer, who's wearing an odd wig. Now that's frizzy. It's competition for the one she wore as Sylvia on Star Trek's Catspaw episode. She was also featured in an episode of Search that I'd reviewed last year, so I'll just replay her dossier from that review here.
Antoinette Bauer was born on September 30, 1932 in Baden-Baden, Germany. She was schooled in London, worked with refugees in Germany, and moved to Canada with her family. She started working in radio and progressed to television at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. She enjoyed working in the theatre and on television in Canada and New York. Opportunities to act in Hollywood presented themselves, but she wasn't fond of traveling for the parts. She bit the bullet and moved to the West Coast when the television industry was taking off in the 1960s. Acting as an occasional guest star leaves a lot of downtime, which she filled by taking classes at Santa Monica College. She was active in the industry into the early 1990s. You may have seen her in dozens of television series and a few films over the years. Series such as The Twilight Zone, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Wild Wild West, I Spy, several episodes of The Fugitive, as Sylvia on the Catspaw episode of Star Trek, Mannix, Hawaii Five-0, Get Smart, several episodes of Hogan's Heroes, several episodes of Mission Impossible, Columbo, The $6 Million Man, Kojak, and Murder, She Wrote. Her last appearance on television was as Fox Devlin in Neon Rider.
If this is a zoological lab, where are the other animals? There are no others. We are specialized entomologists. We specialize in a few dozen of the more interesting of 20,000 insects of the superfamily Apoidea of the order of Hymenoptera.
That's a mouthful. Garth and Rachel think something's hinky.
I don't know, there's something about this place still seems weird to me.
I agree. I think we should check that communication warning was false.
Devon is unusually quiet this time. While Keeble takes Garth and Rachel on a tour of the facility, Devon decides to stay behind to talk with the injured man. Ron Kalisher is played by Alan McRae. Again, there's not much information about the actor. He'd gotten his start in television just a year prior to this role in a made-for-TV movie, When Michael Calls. He's finally coming around and he's able to sit up.
I remember.
I narcotized you, but you're going to feel the stings for several days.
Oh, they came out of nowhere. They were all around me. They attacked like crazed beasts.
Easy, Ron.
Meanwhile, Keeble is giving his tour.
Beekeeping is thousands of years old. Nothing really changes. Our best strains are the Italian, that's yellow, the European black bee, and a couple of races of grays, the Cariolan and the Caucasian.
Back in the lab, Devon asks Kalisher,
Can you tell me what really happened in there? Why did they attack you? I don't know. I can't figure it out.
He explains that he can understand dolphins and other animals, but he can't communicate with bees.
It defies all the logical rules of communication. I mean, we've already got 162,000 meaningful expressions from the dolphin. And even I can translate 30,000 of those with a naked ear. The rest the computer takes care of in split seconds. Gulls are so damn limited, you can get their whole vocabulary into a half-inch reel. Well, chimpanzees are nothing orally, but they're terrific at sign language. We even have a machine to do sign readouts. Those bees.
Just what are you saying?
There's no communication in the ordinary way.
I thought they did a little wiggle dance to indicate the location of nectar, but that may be a more recent observation that wasn't known in 1973. He's thinking they communicate in much the same way as an amplitude-modulated radio signal works in an AM radio. Apparently, he was sending some random signals to the bees when he was suddenly attacked. He probably told them to buzz off. As they're talking, bees start bombarding the lab's iris.
What's that?
I don't know.
Sounds like pellets hitting the door, like handfuls of gravel.
Pete is out there. Pete, can you hear me?
Can't be. Bees don't make.
They are. They're attacking.
I started to get flashbacks of watching Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds as they were attacking the iris. They hear the swarms in the hallway, too.
What's that buzzing?
Must be the swarm. Dr. Marshall must be having trouble getting them back into the hives.
Should you be helping him? Maybe we're keeping you.
I don't know. Dr. Marshall? Dr. Marshall, this is Keeble. Do you need our help? We'd better get back. They may need us.
Pete, can you hear me?
Heather Marshall checks to see if her husband is in the supply bunkers. In an uncredited voice I don't recognize, the computer announces that the supply bunkers are vacant.
Supply bunkers vacant. Supply bunkers vacant.
Check service gallery A15. Check service gallery A15.
Service gallery A15 vacant and sealed. Vacant and sealed.
Other areas too.
What's happening, Dr. Marshall?
If I knew that, I wouldn't be so irritable.
As she picks up a hat and facial netting, I remember that her husband went out without any of those things on. Oops.
I think there's something wrong, and I think you know it.
He didn't answer. I am worried.
Devon starts making demands again. Even though her husband appears to be in imminent danger outside, and we know that the others are on their way back, Devon insists that she get them out of there.
What about Rachel and Garth?
They'll be all right. They're only in the transport tubes. Keeble wouldn't go any further than that without getting a clearance. He knows perfectly well how Pete feels about anyone, even ourselves, going anywhere near his precious experimental bunkers.
No, I don't think we should take a chance. Now, I want you to get them out of there now. Please, Doctor!
Now, Harry Keeble doesn't answer. The bees have gotten into the transport tubes. Uh-oh.
We have to warn Keeble before he leads them in there. I mean, he's been stung 1,000 times. He has a certain natural immunity, but Rachel and Garth are another matter. Harry Keeble, answer, please. Answer.
They won't be able to get back. She calls for Keeble to stay put, not to open any irises. Keeble finally gets to a call station with Rachel and Garth.
Harry Keeble, what's up, Dr. Marshall?
They're standing at attention next to him, and it looks odd to me.
Identify your location, Harry.
Tube A17. We're on our way back to help. Did you know some of the bees got loose?
They've got into the service galleries, Harry, and into some of the transport tubes. I don't know yet which ones. You'll have to stay wherever you are until I can get through to Pete.
Don't worry, Dr. Marshall. We'll be all right. We won't upset them. But I better get back and give Pete a hand.
No, don't risk it. Listen, Harry. They've been beating against the iris from the tropical gardens. A lot of them have gone berserk. Wait where you are.
Back at the lab, Ron Kalisher is still trying to communicate with those bees. So let me get this straight. He tried communicating with them outside and they attacked. He went back to the station and they started beating against the door there. Why is he continuing to send signals?
Oh!
Ron?
What's going on? What happened to you? It's not possible. I don't believe it. It's just not possible in this world or any other world.
What did you hear? Now tell us.
I couldn't believe it if I saw it with my own eyes. We've got to get out of here. All of us. All of us. We've got to seal this place up so no one can ever get in here again. And nothing inside can ever get out.
So from what he just said, it sounds very serious. But he still hasn't answered her question. What did he hear? We cut back to Rachel and Garth roaming around in the tube. They hear some buzzing, and when Rachel looks up at the window, she's aghast at the sight.
Garth?
Act 2 opens with Dr. Pete Marshall strolling across the meadow. He goes through the iris and inside unimpeded by any bees, even though the swarm of insects had just been bombarding that iris moments ago. He goes on a rant claiming that Kalisher provoked the bees.
You know they've gone berserk. I got one swarm back, and 2 others got out, then another. There must be 3 swarms all over the passage, and you want to know why? Right there. There! That idiot!
Well, it can't be helped. They'll calm down.
Will they? You ought to hear them. They've gone wild. You provoked them. You mocked them with simulations of their own voices.
Devon, who's usually the angry one, tries to calm the doctor.
It's ridiculous. Insects don't have feelings. Why, they're not even aware of us, unless we get in their way. But to ascribe some kind of feelings or some kind of intelligence, it's plain nonsense.
What do you know about it? How much time have you spent in study? How much of your life have you spent with nature's brightest, sanest, most productive creatures? Your ignorance is beneath contempt.
His wife says that what's important right now is that Keeble has Garth and Rachel in the tubes, and they have to get them out.
My love, you have got to get through to them. You are the only one who can handle those bees.
He goes out to get the others. Devon starts grilling Kalisher about what he'd heard.
I don't know for sure. I'll have to check it out. One thing I've learned is not to make hasty judgments.
There's another computer announcement.
Bee emanations to infinite power.
What does that mean?
Oh, that's not me talking. That's the computer.
When Devon asks what it means, both Kalisher and Dr. Heather Marshall deny any knowledge.
Devon? We saw them.
So what?
The bees. 4 huge bees, this big. We saw them in the garden through the window.
They'd never have escaped if all this hadn't happened. I've got to get them back to the hive. And when I return, I expect to find you gone.
You can tell he's a theatrically trained Shakespearean actor for darn sure. Those mutated bees are controlling the hives. Kalisher explains that his instruments indicated a signal being transmitted from the bees to the location of the doctor.
I'm sorry, Dr. Heather. They talk right to him. They give him orders. He's under their control.
No.
So the bees are communicating with the doctor.
Then we will kill the mutants.
He'll never let us do that.
Nevertheless, we will.
But how? You can never get close enough.
The Queen is the key to it.
Dr. Heather suggests injecting insecticide into the bunkers.
And that will kill the Queen.
Heather, your husband's with him.
Pete. Pete, can you hear me?
Heather calls her husband back to the lab. He responds that he'll be there in a minute, but as he starts out, he hears something that makes him stop in his tracks. The bees warned him that there's trouble brewing. Devon and Garth plan to don protective gear and then go out and nab the doctor.
You'll have to use SS25T urethane compound 221. It's a rot control for the vegetation, but it's fatal to most bees.
All right, I'll ready it for the bunker. You're going to have to make absolutely sure that that iris is shut. That stuff kills people, too.
When we come back in Act 3, the bees are swarming the tubes again. Then they get in the air vents.
Seal all air vents to Zoological Laboratory.
Zoological laboratory air vents sealed.
Get them, Harry. Quickly.
Keeble sprays the bees in the vents, and he heads out to get the doctor with Devon and Garth. Dr. Pete is just pacing in front of the bunker. As the 3 men walk across a blue screen to reach the bunker, Kalisher picks up signals of the small bees sending danger messages to their larger counterparts.
The mutants have alerted Dr. Pete.
When Dr. Heather ordered the computer to charge the insecticide, the computer read a report.
Feed pipes to experimental bunker charged with 150 units SS25T.
When I listened to the speech patterns of that computer response, it got me thinking. That's actually William Osler slowed down to change the pitch. As Devon and company approached the doctor, they removed their face netting. I thought that was very odd. Then they rush the doctor and hold him by the arms.
We've got him, Dr. Heather!
Release the insecticide, 150 units at 100 KSC.
The insecticide! On the ground! Don't forget the door, Keeble! I'll get the irons!
None of them are wearing face protection. How are they going to get across the blue screen without being stung incessantly? I guess that question was moot, because in the next scene they're bringing the doctor and Keeble to the safety of the lab. Heather tells her husband that she had to do it because the mutants had dominated him.
Dominate me? Insects dominate me? Your judgment isn't worthy of scientific discipline.
Kalisher isn't getting any life signs from the garden or the bunker. Rachel is worried that Keeble is still unconscious.
SS25T is deadly, but the additional airspace dissipated the gas below the crucial concentration level, I'm sure of it.
Doctor, I'm getting bee activity in the garden.
Kalisher reports that he's now getting healthy hive activity in the garden. They just lost a few stray bees, he says. Then he gets a signal from the experimental bunker.
It's getting louder, listen.
It didn't work. It didn't work. They're stronger than we thought.
Dr. Pete goes on another rant.
The Queen is alive. And this time nobody will touch her. Do you understand that? No one.
According to slowed down Osler, the dosage level of the insecticide in the bunker was 6 times the lethal limit. How could they have survived that?
It means they're virtually indestructible, at least by insecticide.
The doctor goes off and gives a soliloquy. He describes just how deadly they can be.
We have to eliminate them.
But if the insecticide didn't work?
Temperature.
Now, I use this show as proof that Fahrenheit will still be in use hundreds of years in the future, and even the scientific community will turn to it as the standard, as opposed to Celsius.
They slow at 55 degrees Fahrenheit, more so at 50. We'll drop the temperature to 50, perhaps even 45 to be quite sure. And then when they're numb, we'll inject the pure SS25T into their systems. My darling, you have to do it.
They're all feeling a bit woozy. Remembering that she'd closed the air vents earlier, Dr. Heather has them opened again.
Open air vents, open air vents. Restore full oxygen supply, Central Zoological Laboratory.
The bees are massing against them.
It's almost as if they could read our thoughts.
She has to order the air vents closed again, and the computer says, make up your mind. Or at least it should have.
Dr. Heather!
He's dead.
In Act 4, Dr. Heather is ordering the computer to reduce the temperature in the bunker. At 75, it was a bit too warm and stuffy for me anyway. I like to keep it around 67 in here. She tries to console her husband about Keeble.
You won't let them influence you again.
No. I know now what has to be done.
You'll wear protective gear.
No, I don't need it.
Rachel is pacing. Kalisher tells her not to be worried. She's a tough cookie. She can take it, but they're running out of air. The temperature in the bunker is down to 50. Those bees should be immobilized, so the doctor is ready to go. Devon offers to go too. I was thinking that would be a good idea in case the doctor can't go through with his task.
Not now, it's too dangerous. We can't be sure that the temperature has really immobilized them. But when I am sure, I'll call for you. Stand by.
Bees have infested every area except the lab. Dr. Heather tries dropping the temperatures in all the spaces, but the computer says,
Temperature gauge controls inoperable, wedged in present state by packed bee bodies.
Dr. Pete approaches the bunker with a huge syringe. He enters the bunker and approaches a miniature dome that resembles the astronavigators we've seen on some of the episodes. The bee they're showing doesn't look dormant to me. Kalisher says he's picking up signals from the doctor.
He wants you out there, Devon.
I don't like it, Devon. I don't think you should go.
Rachel's right. I've got to go, Garth.
Devon, I don't trust my instincts anymore, but I think you should listen to Rachel. Don't go.
I'll be all right, Heather.
The doctor is waiting for him, though, and he's still holding that huge syringe in a most menacing way. The two circle that little dome pedestal as the doc tries to get Devon to join him and his bees.
The mutants are planning to take over all the biospheres and make them into large hives.
And the biospheres are full of people.
But the mutants care about that. They have no feelings.
Garth wants to go out there. When he says there must be another way into the bunkers, Heather gets a thoughtful look.
You can go through the transport tubes, knock in an observation screen. It can be done.
But the tubes are full of bees. They'll attack him.
I have some gear.
But what does he do when he gets there?
This is for the quick freezing of lab specimens. It reduces anything that it sprays to 100 degrees below zero. No specimen can survive it.
Garth, you'll have to hurry. The bees are swarming out of the tropical garden. In a few minutes, they'll have control of the whole station.
Good luck.
Garth runs down the tube carrying a freeze cylinder. Meanwhile, Dr. Pete wants Devon's decision.
And let me caution you that the wrong decision may cost all of you your lives.
Garth arrives just in the nick of time.
Don't do it. She wants to live. She has so much to give. She's dying! Devon, stop him, please. We can still save her.
And that releases her control of Dr. Marshall.
Heather.
You're free of them.
Yes. Yes, I am. And the little ones, where are they?
Swarming everywhere. All over the station. It'll take you days to get them back into their hives.
I'm so glad they're safe. You know, I used to like honey. I've seen enough bees to last me the rest of my life.
Okay, I don't know where I got the idea that someone turned into a bee. Maybe it was because of what happened to Keeble, but I was sort of expecting to see someone in a creepy bee suit. I must have been thinking of something else. Not that I'm disappointed. The episode was actually pretty good. They never did explain the uniforms, though. And what was up with the slowing down of William Osler? That leaves only one more episode, Space Precinct, before I wrap this puppy up and move on to other projects. In my last video, I had mentioned that 1975 didn't offer anything worth reviewing. Well, someone commented to remind me that I'd overlooked Space 1999. It seems I'd only checked the network primetime programs, and thus I'd forgotten about the syndicated offerings. There are 48 episodes of Space 1999, though. That's 24 per season, or series, as you Brits say, and that's far too many for me to even think about reviewing them all. So I guess I have some decisions to make. Stay tuned and we'll see. As usual, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And if you activate that notification bell, you'll know when I post my final episode review for the Starlost.